Assalamu alaikum everyone. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. I hope you all are doing well. We are now in the last 10 nights of Ramadan, and we are about to start our program. Just give us another minute to allow more people to stream in, inshallah, and then we'll go ahead and begin. Looks like we have a good crowd here joining us, mashallah. We'll get started in about 1 minute, inshallah. If you haven't done so already, we have the Live Now flyer that we've posted on social media, or you can take a screenshot of this flyer and let people know that they can join us now, inshallah. We have posted it on Celebrate Mercy's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All right, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. I want to thank everyone for joining us. MashaAllah, we have a lot of people here joining us right now. And just a reminder to please share the Live Now flyer so that your friends and family can also join us, inshallah. We are an organization, Celebrate Mercy, that teaches about the life and character of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam through webinars, events, social media campaigns, and trips. Alhamdulillah, since the pandemic, we've been trying to bring you a lot more programming as a team, webinar after webinar, almost on a weekly basis, as well as multiple classes a week, such as this Portrait of a Prophet program. And this is a program that you can still register for, this 2-week recorded course on the persona of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It covers 400 hadiths. We had Ramadan resolutions, and currently we are at about 40 or 42 or 43% of our fundraising goal for Ramadan. So we hope that inshallah you'll remember us in your sadaqah, in your zakat, inshallah, throughout the month of Ramadan, inshallah. And maybe you can even set an alarm in your phone so that every night in these last 10 nights, you give something in sadaqah to celebrate mercy, inshallah. And this helps us in multiple ways, because Everyday Launch Good is also giving a prize to the organizations that get the most supporters. So even if it's as low as $1, but hopefully it's more than $1, you could actually help us win some matching grants, inshallah. So if you could set an alarm starting tonight that every day at 11 p.m. or at 7 p.m., I'm going to give something to Celebrate Mercy, inshallah, to help them put out more programs like this program. That would be great. And we also have a zakat eligible scholarship fund. Also, every day at 1 o'clock p.m., we have this program on the class, The Heart of the Quran, on Surah Yasin, where the whole entire surah of Surah Yasin is recited for about 15 or 20 minutes. And then we have commentary by Shaykh Yasir Fahmy or Shaykh Yahya Rodas on Surah Yasin. This is 1 p.m. every day until the end of Ramadan. And if you'd like to tweet about today's program or post on Instagram or Twitter, this is the hashtag to use. It is HeartCM. That is HeartCM. Post a picture of your family watching or your laptop or an inspirational quote, inshallah. That said, we can go ahead and start with our program this evening with Shaykh Ubaydullah Evans, mashallah, who's taught at many Celebrate Mercy programs. There's a couple of ahadith he will be giving commentary on tonight, and then we'll open up the floor for Q&A. So you can submit your questions in the Q&A module here on Zoom, or you can even raise your hand and we can take some questions on the mic. But I'll go ahead and hand over the virtual stage to Shaykh Ubaydullah. And after the program's done, stay on, because I have a couple of exciting announcements as well that you'll definitely want to hear, inshallah. Shaykh Ubaydullah, I think you are already a panelist. So if one of our administrators can just have him start his video, and we can go ahead and get started. There we go.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا فمن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ثم أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum. It is a great honor and a great privilege, as always, to be with you this evening. We are in the last 10 days of Ramadan, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always giving us ample opportunity to earn His favor, so that the month of Ramadan in and of itself contains immense favor. And if we don't avail ourselves of the opportunity to, expose ourselves to the nafahat, these breezes of divine mercy throughout the month of Ramadan, then of course we have the last 10 days of Ramadan to do so. And if we're unable to avail ourselves of opportunities to expose ourselves to these nafahat, these divine breezes, then of course we have Laylatul Qadr. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to realize the blessing of Laylatul Qadr and help us to maximize these final days of Ramadan. This evening, we are going to look at some of the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ, two in particular, about friendship, about companionship. And I think these are particularly pertinent to our situation and circumstance. MashaAllah, we have a number of crises in the ummah at large, but one of the least talked about is the crisis of friendship. We have forgot how to be friends to one another. We have forgotten how to select our friends. We have forgot how to tolerate our friends, and also how to give to our friends. So let's look at the ahadith, inshallah. Tariq, can you show them? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sallam. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم مثل الجليس الصالح والجليس السوء كمثل صاحب المسك وكير الحداد لا يعدمك من صاحب المسك إما تشتريه أو تجد ريحه وكير الحداد يحرق بدنك أو ثوبك أو تجد منه ريحا خبيثة. A righteous friend compared to an evil friend is like a perfume seller and a blacksmith. As for the perfume seller, he may gift something to you, or you may buy something from him, or you may benefit from his own sweet smell. And as for the blacksmith, he may either burn your clothes or you may be exposed to his awful smell. So in this hadith, the Prophet ﷺ is likening a good friend, a righteous friend, to a perfume seller. And he's he's analogizing between a bad friend and a blacksmith. Now, the first thing that we have to understand, and this will come also in the second hadith, المرء على دين خليلي فلينظر أحدكم من يخالل. A person is on the religion of their friend. So be very careful. Consider well who you decide to befriend. You know, there's a hadith about the Prophet ﷺ that I think is relevant here, where the Prophet was asked about his best friend. And he said, if I were going to take a friend other than Allah, it would be Abu Bakr, radiallahu anhu, saying that even as the Prophet ﷺ talks about his deep and very passionate friendship with Abu Bakr, he's mentioning that his friend in the ultimate sense of that word, right, a guarantor, a protector, right, a confidant, is none other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But then he mentioned Sayyidina Abu Bakr. And once the Prophet ﷺ was asked, who is the best friend? And the Prophet responded, the friend that helps you to remember Allah. And then he was asked, who is the worst friend? A friend that helps you to forget Allah, right? We have to be very careful about who we take as our friends. You know, one of my grandmother's favorite sayings was, I don't need to listen to anyone telling me about who they are. The only thing I need to say is, show me who your friends are, and then I will know who you are. The saying in English is, birds of a feather flock together. So that if people have virtue in common, you will find that there is camaraderie between them. And if they have vice in common, you will find that there is camaraderie between them. Now, if we find that we want to associate with the righteous, the perfume sellers, if you will, so that something that they possess can rub off on us, but we don't feel completely comfortable among them because we know that we're not from them. I want you to listen very closely to this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet talked about the majalis of dhikr, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the gatherings of the remembrance of God. And he said that the angels come and they cover those sitting together, remembering Allah with their wings until they fill up the space between those worshipers and the heaven. And then they go back and they report to Allah. And this, of course, is just for the purpose of illustration. Allah knows better, but he's asking them so that we will have this lesson and so that this will be illustrative for us. Allah asked them, what did you find my servants doing? And the angels say, they were praising you. They were glorifying you. They were seeking your paradise and seeking refuge from your punishment. And then Allah will say, have they ever seen my paradise? And the angels will say, no. And Allah will say, how much more desirous would they be of my paradise if they had witnessed it? And then Allah will say, they were seeking refuge from my punishment, from my chastisement. Have they ever seen Jahannam? Have they ever seen my punishment? And the angels will say, no. And Allah will say, how much more intense would their aversion to my punishment be if they had witnessed it? And then Allah will say, what do they want? And the angels will say, they want forgiveness. And Allah will say, forgiveness is written for all of them. And as the angels are about to record forgiveness for this blessed gathering, they will see one person who just came, he just happened to be there. And they will say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fi ahadin or hunaka ahadun indahum huwa laysa minhum. There's one person among them. He's really not from them. فَقَدْ جَاءَ لِقَضَاءِ الْحَاجَةِ. He just came for some practical purpose. He just happened to be there. He wasn't a part of the intentional group of people who gathered to celebrate your praise and to remember you and to seek your paradise and to seek refuge from your punishment. He was just there. And Allah will say, Hum qawmun la yashqa jalisuhum. They are a people. Even the person who just sits with them will never be disappointed. So even if we sit uncomfortably among the righteous, deeming ourselves out of place, still sit there, be there, and some good will rub off on you. It's amazing that the parallel is almost never true. When people end up in foul spaces, when people end up in places of sin, when people end up in places of wickedness, they never talk about how they don't feel like they fit in there. I've never talked to any Muslim that just happened to be in the club that told me, I just didn't feel like I fit in there. But no, when you want to associate with the people of khayr, you want to associate with the people of good, you want to associate with the people of deen, then you feel like, I just don't fit in there. No, be there. The Prophet ﷺ said, when it comes to dunya, it comes to matters of the transitory world, the temporal world, money and status and cars and homes, always look to people that have been given less than you, because this will make you more appreciative of what you've been given. However, when it comes to matters of deen, always look to people that have been given more than you, because this will inspire you. We should want to be associated with people that are better than us. But the other side of that is also true. We should allow, subhanAllah, we look to people that are better than us, and we should. But we have to also be very careful how we take care spiritually of the people who think us better than them, right? You have some people that might want to be associated with you. Have you called them? Have you reached out? Have you made yourself accessible? Have you made yourself available? And you might deem yourself just a Muslim struggling to make the fara'id. I'm just a Muslim struggling to make my prayers. And for somebody that doesn't even have that level of practice, you might be an inspiration. So open yourself to them as well. Both sides of those things are true. The Prophet ﷺ was the best at everything. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. And there's no hyperbole attached to my statement. He was a man that lived a multifaceted life, and he excelled in the various facets of his life, right? And this is what really, really makes his guidance accessible to us. When one is thinking about the best way of being a parent, you can think about the Prophet ﷺ. When one is thinking about the best way of being a spouse, you can think about the Prophet ﷺ. When one is thinking about the best way of being a friend, you can think about the Prophet ﷺ. I'm always reminded of that story. After the Prophet married Safiya, and some of the Sahaba retired with him to his home, where they were, he was having his walima. And just to cut a long story short, they overstayed their welcome. They stayed with the Prophet ﷺ, and they overstayed their welcome. And the Prophet would give no indication that he was inconvenienced, right? And they ended up staying all the way until the time of Fajr. And the next day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down revelation, فَإِذَا تَعِمْتُمْ فَانْتَشِرُوا. After you've eaten a meal with the Prophet ﷺ, disperse, leave, don't hang out. It annoys the Prophet ﷺ, and he's shy to tell you. But God is not shy to tell you the truth. And I sat reading this for the first time, this is in Surah Al-Hujurat, reading the Asbab al-Nuzul, right, the occasion of the revelation of this verse. And I remember thinking to myself, the Prophet ﷺ he dealt with the inconvenience of his friends, making himself accessible to the Sahaba so that they could benefit from him, right? Teaching them, instructing them, being with them. So yes, we're striving to be with the best of people, but we're also opening ourselves to people that maybe look up to us. And when you hang out with good people, much is gained through suhbah. You will notice that people that are in each other's company often, they begin to use the same phrases, right? They begin to, make similar references. They begin to share certain common interests, right? This is the value of suhbah. I remember, I spent about 5 years in Egypt, and after some time, certain lawazim masriya, certain just everyday phrases of Egyptians, I would just say them without even thinking about it. Somebody would say something that was, agitating Allah without even thinking about it. I'm like, I've never wanted to do this, right? Yes, salam, without even thinking about it. Such is the case with suhbah. If you spend time with the people of dhikr, you will become a person of dhikr. If you spend time with people that are patient, you will become patient. If you spend time with people that are generous, you will become generous. And the inverse is also true, unfortunately. If you spend time with people of impatience, that will eat away at your patience. If you spend time with people that are rude, that will eat away at your manners. If you spend time with people that are stingy, that will eat away at your generosity. If you spend time with people that are corrupt or venal, this will eat away at your integrity, right? So choosing our friends wisely. These are just short, fast reminders, but profound reminders. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh Ubaydullah, for the beautiful reminders. I'm just posting these two ahadith up on the screen again while we get some questions. MashaAllah. So one question, it doesn't look like it's related to the topic, but we don't have any others right now. So I'll ask you this question from Shahid, brother Shahid, who said, is it permissible to reference the name of the Prophet ﷺ when making dua? For example, "Oh Allah, for the sake of your beloved Prophet ﷺ, make my kids good Muslims." So referencing, the Prophet ﷺ in your dua, asking Allah by the Prophet ﷺ.
Yeah, I mean, this is a practice referred to as tawassul. And, much has been written about tawassul. In terms of its permissibility, the vast majority of Sunni authorities, as far as I'm aware, make this allowable. However, if a person is uncomfortable making tawassul, that should be respected as well. But if you hear someone making tawassul, don't assume that they've done anything wrong, because I don't believe them to have done anything wrong. But if a person is uncomfortable with that, that should be respected as well. I'm reminded of the hadith of or the athar, the tradition of Sayyidina Umar, when Sayyidina Umar is making Hajj, and he comes to the black stone, and he looks at the black stone, and he says, I know that you cannot benefit me and you cannot harm me. And if it weren't for the fact that the Prophet ﷺ kissed you, I wouldn't kiss you. And then he kissed the black stone, right? So, that hadith has always been very profound to me. Why do you think Sayyidina Umar, before kissing the black stone, why do you think he is mentioning this lengthy preamble? Because this is a man firmly rooted in his tawheed, right? The oneness of God and the singularity of his worship for God, but he has a vivid memory of idolatry. He has a vivid memory of worshiping stones, worshiping rocks. So there was something about kissing the black stone that reminded him of that. And just to make sure that he was clear, he had to mention that preamble. Oh, let me see if I can adjust the sound. Bismillah. Just to make sure that he was clear for himself, he had to mention the preamble. But then ultimately, it was the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that he adhered to. That is just, that says everything that is beautiful about Sayyidina Umar, right? So similarly, those of us, some of us that, like myself, have a vivid memory of worshiping Jesus Christ, alayhi salam, as the Son of God. For someone like that, tawassul might strike uncomfortably close to something that they recall, and they might not feel comfortable with the practice, or they might not appreciate the practice, and they have every right to that. They have every right to that. But most Sunni authorities, as far as I know, say that this is a permissible practice and it should not be censured.
Jazakallah khair. We have two kind of related questions. Someone is Amina, who said, mashallah, really beautiful. Living in today's world, we end up becoming friends who are not believers. We go to school with them, we work with them, and we become fond of them. What is your advice here on balancing? And another person said that, if Brother Ubaydullah is always looking for salihin or pious people to be his associates and friends, then how will the less educated, non-pious learn good things from him? We have to mingle with people so they can learn and alleviate themselves, or elevate themselves. Elevate. I guess she meant elevate.
Bismillah. No. This idea, the Muslim, we have to be very careful. I think this is a place where some maturity is necessary. To see the world in this binary Muslim, non-Muslim, Muslimun, kuffar, I just don't know that the Prophet ﷺ ever viewed humanity in that way. However, we do have to be careful to guard our iman against negative influences, right? So yes, in as much as we live in a pluralistic society and we work with non-Muslims, we live among non-Muslims, we go to school with non-Muslims, we work out at the gym with non-Muslims, we will be given ample opportunities to cultivate closeness with people who don't share our faith tradition. And I think we should be very natural. We should be very organic, in that space. And we should not be proselytizers in that space. But our intention should be for da'wah. We should always be focused on their hearts. That does not mean that it is always wise to explicitly, give pamphlets and summon people to Islam. But we are always focusing on their hearts, right? And not in this, we want to, build the number of Muslims so that the statistics look better. No. We believe that we are in possession of a gift, and we're always thinking about representing the Prophet ﷺ so that we can convey that gift to others, right? But it's inevitable, right, that we will develop, friendships with, people that don't share our faith. I think the important thing, if I'm to summarize my thoughts, they are either influencing you or you are influencing them. So see to it that your intention is to be an influence, a positive one, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. Going to Sister Mubina, just a reminder that you can raise your hand if you want to use your microphone to ask a question. Mubina Ahmed, you can now use your microphone. You can unmute yourself and ask your question on the mic.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
May Allah give you the ajr for your wisdom.
Thank you.
This is a very nice topic today, and it is quite amazing situation, because I just had this situation happen a couple of days ago with my grandchildren. My grandchildren questioned me about, how Islamic teachings and mannerism and all that, and it's very difficult these days. They go to school, and it's very difficult to make them understand, the difference between, like without bias, without prejudice, without being rude, or how to teach our children to live in a society of you know different kind of people, like, Muslims and non-Muslims, and they're all kind of people. But we are trying to teach them to be kind and gentle and be Islamic and everything. A little 5-year-old does not understand that. A little 6-year-old doesn't understand that. So how would we as Muslims living in a society of different cultures um, adapt and mingle and yet be kind, and uh, we have to have peace. We have to have peace everywhere we go, and Islam is all about peace. And how do you encourage your little children that it's okay what they are doing and it's not okay what you do?
Bismillah. No, mashallah, Sister Mubina. Very, very good question. And when I think about that, because I have small children, as well, and I think about the verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the Prophet alayhi wasalam, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have not sent you except as a mercy to everything that exists. And I try to teach my children to be proud of their Islam, and to not shy away from those things that make them distinct, that are unique, about their Islamic practice. That some of their friends might, the things about them that some of their friends might not share. Maybe they do certain things. Maybe we do certain things as a family. Maybe we are particular about certain things as a family, and that might not be the case for other families. However, I tell them to refuse to be alienated. One of the beautiful titles given to the Prophet Muhammad والسلام, is El Insanul Kamil, the complete human being. What that means is that everything authentically human, not those things that are inhumane, but everything authentically human can be related to the Prophet ﷺ. It's all about the narrowness or vastness with which we understand his example. So when I look and I see people, I don't see, yes, our responsibility is to give da'wah, but only when I see something that is completely inhumane do I really think that has nothing to do with me, right? It's almost like, I try to teach my children that, we are the ummah of the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam. And he is the last messenger of God to be sent to earth. That means that everybody that we see, everybody that we encounter, those are people from his ummah. Everybody, the ummah of the Prophet Muhammad والسلام, is divided into two parts, right? You have ummatul da'wah wa ummatul istijaba. You have the ummah that is being called and the ummah that has responded. But he is their prophet. So when I see all of my neighbors, no matter what their faith tradition, I believe that Prophet Muhammad alayhi wasallam, he is their prophet. The goal becomes, how do I reflect something of his light? How do I reflect something of his teachings, right? How do I reflect something of his character so that they can see that? And maybe they won't ever become Muslim, but at the very least, we can respect each other, as people, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair. Sister Fatima wanted to come on the mic to ask a question. Fatima B.
Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
I was just typing, alhamdulillah, jazakallah khairan. In terms of our children and not being involved in the day-to-day of our children, if they are, mashallah, good practicing Muslim children, and the way that my generation or the community I was raised in was to be in constant contact, even when you were not getting along, there was still contact. And my children have chosen a different path, and it's been very heartbreaking. And I make dua and I dhikr and I send them things, and I have other people send them things, and I've tried all these things, and they come and they go, and they're in their, they're of the age where they're in their own worlds and everything, and it's just it's heartbreaking, and I don't understand it. And at this point now, I'm just giving it to Allah. There's some things I won't understand, even when me and my mother went through so many things, we still talk. And I just wondered if you could shed some light on how to move through that gracefully. Inshallah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Sister Fatima, my heart goes out to you. As my sister in Islam, as a fellow parent. And I've seen situations where, children growing and maturing and developing strayed, a little bit, but they always, or those children did, they found their way back. So the first thing I would say is, don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. Keep praying. And make sure that you are accessible. If they want to abandon their mother in the sense of not communicating with her, not talking to her, not following her sincere advice, that will be their choice to make. But make sure that you are there, and sometimes it's just a matter of time. Youth, they say youth is wasted on the young. But we're often arrogant, and we think that we know more than we really do about life, when we're young. And it takes some real life experiences to come back to some of those things that we were taught, in our, formative years, in our childhood. And if this is the path, if this is the means through which your children will come into their own relationship with Allah, and strive to be their own best selves, you just have to be patient, and you have to persevere, and you have to let it happen. Sometimes it's very difficult for us to watch people we love make mistakes. But if they did not make mistakes, how would they even understand the wisdom of the Quran? I remember once I was sitting with one of my best friends, and I was telling him that, my situation is very complex. It's a very complex situation because, I embraced Islam at maybe the age of 16, and my family wasn't a fervent practicing Christian family, but I did attend church from time to time, and I myself was baptized of my own volition. I heard about Islam. I did some research, read Malcolm X, like so many other youth around my age at that time, and decided to embrace Islam. And I was telling my friend that if one of my children decided to embrace a different religion, essentially following my footsteps, choosing their own religion in their teenage years, it would be devastating to me. It would be, I would be heartbroken. I would literally be so despondent, and it would be devastating. It would be devastating. I said, but I have to recognize that they have their own relationship with Allah. Right? They have their own relationship with Allah. And Allah is working, in their lives, in unique ways. And so sometimes it's just, patience, perseverance. I'll tell you a story about someone very close to me. I knew a sister, an older sister, a very committed Muslim, very committed mother. And at some point, and she wasn't married to her son's father. She remarried, and she married a brother that was really, really hardcore, for whatever that means. But I guess he was serious about, kind of the rulings, right, of the Sharia. So when her eldest boy left Islam, he told her he's an apostate, right? He's a murtad, he's an apostate, and I want nothing to do with him. I don't want him coming to this house. I don't want any of the other children in this house to talk to him. I don't want you to talk to him. And she had this dilemma. She was like, look, I'm a serious Muslim woman. I understand, ridda, how bad apostasy is, leaving Islam is. But I cannot obey my husband on this one. This is my son. I gave birth to him. I know that he's a little confused right now. He's going through some things, but I will continue to be accessible to my son. And I hope that doesn't anger my husband, but I can't cut my son off, in spite of the fact that my husband is telling me I should cut him off. And so she continued to meet with her son. Out of respect for her husband, they would meet out. They would have lunch. She would come over to where he was staying. After about 2 years, he embraced Islam again, right? He came back to Islam. And when he, returned to Islam, she looked at her husband and she said, that's my baby. And I always knew what was in his heart. And I wouldn't give up on him until he had no more breath in his lungs. You see? And so, just persevere, just be patient, just hang on, and just make sure that you're open. Make sure that you're open.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh Ubaydullah. We're going to take one more question here. One more question, and these are two kind of related questions. One, and it's kind of about being alone. I love being a Muslim, alhamdulillah, and I would love to have Muslim friends. Besides my parents, I don't really know any Muslims who are strong in their faith, and it's quite difficult to find friends like this because of where I live. These videos from Celebrate Mercy have become my friends and have taught me so much throughout my spiritual journey. So I guess my question is, instead of spending time with people, are there other ways that will help me stay firm in my faith? And someone else asked a similar question saying, what if my friends are okay, but they're not great? Is it better to hang out with those kind of people or just stay by myself and not hang out with people?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. That's a very, very difficult question to answer. As far as the first question, my heart goes out to you. I wish that we weren't experiencing the stay at home, shelter in place orders, and that wherever you were, whatever, mashallah, Celebrate Mercy has a very vast network. And I'm sure that wherever you are, we could definitely find people to come, to have iftar with you, to have suhoor with you, to pray with you. But the time that we're living in just makes that a little bit, complicated. So the first thing is that, my heart goes out to you. Loneliness can be, especially if it's not intentional, it can be inhumane, man. I think, solitary confinement is one of the worst punishments you could give a human being, right? It's soul crushing. So if you are alone and you don't want to be, reach out via telephone. You could call me, or leave your number in the chat if you're a brother, and I can give you a call. And if you're a sister, I can have my wife give you a call. And that's the first thing about that. In terms of other ways, if you're in a situation in which, solitude is kind of being imposed on you just by your circumstance, your situation, it's best to just lean into it and just embrace it. And in that moment, lean into the ma'iyya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the being with Allah. Allah says, Inna Allah ma'as sabirin, that Allah is with those who are patient. And so leaning into that and knowing that, even in your solitude, you are in the care of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And in that regard, I would refer you to the story of many of the prophets. Many of the prophets in the Quran, at different points in their journeys, they found themselves, for all intents and purposes, alone. And it was in those moments of, imposed solitude that they experienced the most closeness to God that they ever experienced. So I would say just lean into it, and spend lots of time making dua. Pray to God in a language that you understand, with whatever is on your heart, and you will feel the closeness of God to you. God says in the Quran, فَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. When my servants ask about me, tell them that I am close. أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِي. I respond to the person praying to me when they call upon me. So call upon Allah, and you will feel, His closeness to you. And as for the second question, about friends that aren't great, this is where some of my bias, comes in. I grew up in a culture that really esteemed friendships. My homeboys, were my homeboys, man. And I was always reluctant to leave my friends. And even that, and even if I decide to put some distance between people that I love, myself and people that I love, I don't do so in a spirit of disdain. I don't do so because, I think lowly of them. It's just that, we might be in two different places, in our lives. And where our paths intersect, I would love to spend time with you. But if you, like some of my friends, when I remember when I first embraced Islam, I was in high school. Many of my classmates and friends and teammates were really just starting to get into the drug scene, just starting to get into kind of like, like little promiscuous behavior, just starting to get into the kind of the party scene. And at that time, I was with them and I was just starting to get into Islam. And it's weird how those relationships went, it's weird how those relationships went. It's kind of like some of them, we really just kind of grew apart, but we were never, we never had relationships of enmity or animosity. It's just like, yo, I'm getting ready to go smoke one. Well, I'm getting ready to go to this class at the masjid. Just it's not a common. The commonality wasn't there. And then some people, through my continued association with them, right, they ended up becoming Muslim. 3 of my best friends all became Muslim, and then alhamdulillah, they're still practicing deen. Alhamdulillah. And one of my best friends, his younger brother and his younger sister became Muslim. So I would say, if your friends are not all that, but they're okay, don't cut them off in an abrupt disdainful way. Just try to focus on their hearts and try to influence them in the right way. But if you feel that they're influencing you in negative ways, then just put some strategic distance between yourself and them, and then try to meet up with them on on common ground, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair, Shaykh Ubaydullah. You've really we've taken a lot of your time, and it's it's difficult because this is the month of the Quran, and we're reading about all of these lofty character traits and how we should be reading the Quran. But then I look at, then when we talk about dealing with people through the Sunnah, I'm seeing 23 questions. 4 people have raised their hand, and I don't know if you can see the questions coming in, but they're very difficult questions. I mean, people are really going through some very difficult times with family members, with friends. It's
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
it may be easy to read the Quran, but when you're dealing with like the horizontal, as opposed to the vertical, there's a lot of challenges, subhanAllah. That's why we wanted to do this class, was to give people some practical advice on how do we bring the Quran into our day-to-day lives, the Quran that we're reading so much this month, how do we make it operational? Alhamdulillah. So alhamdulillah, we really appreciate your insights, your wisdom, your teaching. It's an honor to have you with us. And
the honor is mine. The honor is mine. I really appreciate these sessions. For those questions that I didn't get to address, we'll find some way. I know that I have a couple more times to be with this group. We'll find some way to get them answered, inshallah.
Yes, and you said to the person who asked about not having friends, if that person would like to email us at CelebrateMercy, we can connect you to people as well. I think the person's name was Sophia. If you want to reach out to us, email us at info@celebratemercy.com. That's info@celebratemercy.com. We can connect you to hopefully some people that can stay in touch with you, inshallah, and be those friends. We do appreciate that you said our videos are your friends. MashaAllah, I've never heard someone say that, but that's very beautiful. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Shaykh Ubaydullah. I'm gonna just close out with some announcements here before we end. Just if those are watching can stay tuned. This program will be continuing at 11 p.m. every night, inshallah, until the end of Ramadan, until next week, end of next week, inshallah. We also have the 1 p.m. program that we mentioned on reciting Surah Yasin, while you can see the English translation, transliteration, and then we have commentary on verses of Surah Yasin, and that will go until the end of Ramadan. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. If you have not already, go to youtube.com/CelebrateMercy and hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so that you're notified whenever our videos go live or we post a video online, inshallah. That's a great way to stay in touch and to learn about what programs we're doing. We also want to say that, alhamdulillah, you all have been seeing that we've been fundraising throughout Ramadan. This is very important because we can't continue these programs unless we can raise the funds from the public to continue these programs. Programs for teenagers. We have programs planned for kids and for teenagers, but unless we can raise the funds to put those programs out there in the summer, basically this summer, we're not going to be able to do those programs. So we really do, and we had to cancel all of our fundraising dinners in Ramadan. That typically brings in half of our fundraising income that supports our programs throughout the year. So we really are hoping for your help, that you remember Celebrate Mercy. We're at about 43% of our goal for the month. So this is the website to do it, launchgood.com/celebrate/CM for Celebrate Mercy, launchgood.com/CM. And what we really would like is if you could set an alarm in your phone, that tells you at midnight every night or at 7 o'clock, there's an alarm that will go off and it'll tell you, this is my time tonight after Maghrib to donate to Celebrate Mercy, even if it's a small donation. But maybe you could hit Laylatul Qadr on one of those nights and your donation can be worth 83 years of donations, because good deeds on Laylatul Qadr are multiplied by 1,000 months, by 83 years, inshallah. So maybe your $1, your $100, your $1,000 could be multiplied by 83 years of giving $1,000 or $1. And we do have a zakat eligible scholarship fund for those looking for places to give your zakat. We accept zakat and we use it as scholarships for some of our traveling conferences and programs where people cannot afford to go to them, like maybe a $100 weekend conference. If someone is zakat eligible, then we can provide scholarships to people to learn about the Prophet ﷺ and fall in love with the Prophet ﷺ. And these are just some ahadith that remind us of the importance of giving in Ramadan and why giving makes a difference in extinguishing our sins, in blocking calamities, in providing shade on the Day of Judgment. Inshallah, these are important. We also want to say that we have some contests coming up that some of you might be interested in. For example, if you have 20 friends who you can convince to give at least $1 to Celebrate Mercy, then you can qualify for some big prizes from Celebrate Mercy, like Umrah trips, big cash prizes. Today we had a contest, 29 people qualified for the prizes. We're going to actually hold the raffle tomorrow to choose people to win Umrah trips and cash prizes. So on these, we're going to actually hold 2 or 3 more contests this month where you have an opportunity, and all you need to do is simply get a group of your friends, family and friends, to give $1 or more to Celebrate Mercy. So if you're interested in participating in these contests, which are very easy, then go to celebratemercy.com/contest. Also, 2 more announcements here is that we have a recorded class with 22 hours of material that you can still register for. This is a class that was last month. However, all the recordings are available where great teachers like Shaykh Ubaydullah Evans and Shaykh Yahya Rodas and others were teaching this book, Ash-Shama'il al-Muhammadiyya. It's a newly translated book of 400 narrations, 400 hadiths about the personality of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his persona, his beauty, his inner and his outer beauty, how he walked, how he talked, how he slept, what he ate, what he drank, how he interacted with people, his humility, his character, his modesty, or what were the things that he owned in his home? What did he have in his house? What did he look like, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? These are the type of hadith that are in this book, and they covered this entire book cover to cover in this 22-hour class. If you register for it, and there's a discount you can get here with this coupon, then you will get access to these recordings for 6 months. So what we'd like to recommend is that you go to our website, you can buy this book, get it shipped to your house, and then once you have the book, if you're enrolled in this recorded class, you can go through the book hadith by hadith, 400 hadith, 22 hours, and complete this course, inshallah, through this class. So celebratemercy.com/portrait, and we do have scholarships available for those who cannot afford the costs of this online class. Through your generous donations, we're able to provide scholarships to those who can't afford the costs of that recorded class. Lastly, this is the last hour, I think. Yeah, this is your last chance to get this discount on the Quranic Arabic class by Fawaqih Institute. This is an 18-month class with live instructors, with homework and quizzes, and you get a box of books. There's an app that you also download. This is a really, really professional class that's starting next month, where every week you have a class with a teacher. You probably need to dedicate about 5 hours total per week to this class, including I think it's around 2 hours per week for the class itself, and then 2 to 3 hours you probably need to study and do homework and prepare for quizzes and stuff like that. So if you can dedicate 4 to 5 hours weekly to learning Arabic so that you can understand the Quran better as you hear it, as you recite it, then this is a class for you. It's a class that thousands of people have benefited from, probably the best online Quranic Arabic content out there. People like Delia Mugahid and others, you can go on the website and read the commentary. The testimonials, inshallah. And this is you can actually get almost a $1,000 discount if you do this by today. This expires tonight. So this is your last chance to get this deal of saving about $1,000, almost $1,000 on this 18-month Quranic Arabic class. At the very least, here's the website. We're putting it in the chat right now, fawaqih.org/cmercy, to learn about this program. People have told me, even after just completing level 1 of the Fawaqih Arabic class, level 1, that when they read the Quran or when they hear the Quran, they can now understand up to 20% of the words that they're hearing and the sentences, the grammar that they're hearing in the Quran. So imagine you can understand, 10, 15, 20% more than you used to, making what that does to your experience praying, what that does as you recite the Quran. And inshallah, that will motivate you to go to level 2, level 3, level 4 of Quranic Arabic class, inshallah. I personally attended some of these classes and they're really, really awesome. Great teachers, great follow-up, great curriculum. I haven't seen anything like it. So I highly recommend it, inshallah. Thank you all for joining. We look forward to seeing you. Maybe you'll join us tomorrow for the Surah Yasin class at 1 p.m. Or if you can't make that, you can join us tomorrow night for the continuation of this class on the character of the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we hope that you'll remember us in your sadaqah and your zakat to, inshallah, help us continue these programs on an ongoing basis, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Take care, everyone. Keep us in your prayers. The entire Celebrate Mercy team, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.